Can you categorically say then that it's not Tyson Fury avoiding these other guys?
Tyson's never ducked anybody. They would not duck either of those guys, and certainly not AJ, that's for sure.
This is Fight Club. Come on in. Hello, I'm Gareth A Davies. Welcome to episode 6 of Fight Club via Boxing Social. Coming up on this week's show, Reza Ali, the 8-0 super bantamweight fighter, joins me in studio to discuss his extraordinary journey through life from Iran to the UK. Do not miss that. Also on this week's show, Hall of Fame promoter Frank Warren joins me, answers your questions and talks about the heavyweight division. Also, live from New York, Kalle Sauerland. He talks to us about Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn, Liam Smith, and his take on the heavyweight division. All that and more coming up on this week's Fight Club. Well, it gives me great pleasure to welcome into the studio this week Reza Ali, 8-0, a professional super bantamweight fighter with an incredible story. Reza, a very warm welcome to you to Fight Club.
Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're in the Fight Club anyway, yeah?
I am.
You left Iran.
Yes.
An incredible story. You're still a very young man. You've made your way in the UK. Tell us about life growing up, first of all, for you growing up in Iran as a young kid.
It's just very different back home. A lot of things work different way. It's a different culture. But it made me the person I am today. If I would go through that again, yes, I would. I really would. If I had to go do it from the beginning, even though it was not pleasant at all.
Well, without going completely over what has been some trauma in your life, you were involved in a car accident at the age of 6, first of all, weren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, like I'm the only survivor. It was just a unlucky day for my family, you know. And I'm the only one survived. Sometimes people just, you know what I was telling my friend the other day? Some people got 9 lives, you know. I feel I'm one of them.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
You lost, I think it was 7 family members.
Yeah, I lost my aunties, my relative. And I got burned so much. It was painful. But I learned so many lessons, which are priceless.
But you're on record as saying that when you were in hospital and burnt,
Yeah.
then you had a traumatic event with your father.
Yeah. My father was, do you know, back in the day, I wasn't thinking like I think now, because there is no obligation. That's what I was trying to say all the time to people around me. There is no obligation to be the person you were 5 minutes ago. So people just evolve and change. At least that's me. I'm all the time thinking, trying to just be better, or like see things from different aspects in my life, questioning myself. I was very similar to my dad, you know.
But he kidnapped you, you've told.
He took me away. He just
took you away, hold you up in the desert with him.
Yes.
Why? What was?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But you know, my whole life I've never dig into it, and I'm really curious. So I've been curious lately. So I've been calling my aunties, my relatives to know about my father. Everybody described me just the exact same as my father.
Is he still around?
I don't know. He just disappeared. I hope he's alive, because I love my dad, you know. He's done so much to me. He broke my heart. But I love my dad.
Has he helped to make you what you are today?
Yes.
Is that your feeling about it?
It had to go this way, unfortunately. It went this way. But the person I am today, maybe because of him, or a lot of things happened in my life to bring me here today. Which I got a different view of life nowadays. I mean, forever.
I mean, it's extraordinary, your story. You know, you've also documented how, you know, when you got a little older, then you got involved in gang life. Gang life in Iran?
Oh, yeah, like it's so big.
Really? Tell us about that.
I don't know what people think about Iran, but Iran is like...
It seems like a very religious community where there's no trouble at all because people will get heavily punished if they are. No.
Oh, that's like far away from where I come from. Iran is a place, it's amazing. It's just
I've been to Iran, yeah.
You've been to Iran?
I went to Tehran many years ago on a journalistic trip when Terry Venables was managing the Australian team, and I went to cover a football game, must have been about late 1990s, and they were playing Iran in 2 legs to qualify for the World Cup. And Ali Daei scored a goal, I think. They went through. Iran went to the World Cup. Yes. It was amazing. Went to the Azadi Stadium, call to prayer at half-time, fires around the stadium, armed guards on the top. I went out to the bazaar. I found it amazing. I found it an incredible place. I didn't feel, even though they put fear into you about going there, I thought people were very curious. Coffee with people down in the bazaar, at the shops. I found it very, very interesting. Honestly, very interesting place.
Iran is a place everybody must go. I'm gutted I cannot go back there no more.
Tell me about the gang stuff.
It's just like Iran is, you know, it's a place that honestly you're just free to do whatever you want to do as long as you got money.
Yeah.
You know?
Or you're not caught.
Yes. Or there's no face, no case, you know? So, but...
What kind of stuff are you involved in, if you can talk?
Well, my neighborhood, it was a poor neighborhood, right? So people...
In Tehran?
In Tehran, in south of Tehran. And there is a lot of places like my place, but like my place was a bit like well known around the country actually. So it's bunch of people are bored and got no purpose in their life, and they fight over anything, you know. So it's just again comes from the environment, your family, the educational system, and everything. And obviously, you know what's going on in poor places. So it's one of them one. You just fight, you just stab each other. Like you run away from school, you don't get no education. There's not a lot of money. But I was always around it. But at the same time I was living in 2 different worlds because I was just so into my fighting. You know, you were a
Thai boxer, weren't you?
I was a professional Thai boxer. I was fighting everywhere because how it was back home, you would get paid, let's say, £50, but it was a tournament that you had to fight 3 times, 4 times in the same day. So the champion gets like £50, and I would travel. I was very small with a big pack. I was traveling around the country for that £50. Like it was amazing. Like,
so you had a calling for that. You had a calling for fighting in your life.
I just wanted
to fighting as a sport, almost as a profession.
Yes, I could waste my energy and use it against my future, you know. But I was like, I got to do it in the right way because my father was an example for me all the time in my life. You know, I had to be different.
What not to be, you mean?
Not to be like, not to.
It's amazing you love him so much, but he taught you what not to be. And I do get that. It's very wise.
Sometimes people shouldn't come say things to you. You just look at them and then you see what's going on. You know. He was a big man, but I had to go a way that I can make my family proud. Maybe when I can fight in the ring and get paid, why should I fight on the street?
You were then persuaded by your grandmother, I think, when you were 18, come on, go and find a life somewhere else. And you got this incredible journey about leaving Iran as well. Tell us about that.
Back home, like I was in too much trouble. Like honestly, if I would have stayed there, that's what my friend told me sometimes when they call me from back home. They say, yo, if you were here, you would be dead by now. Because it's just the type of personality I have, you know. Like, a lot of people, they don't know me. So I just can't stand for bullshit. Like, you cannot look at my face and bullshit me. Like, stuff like go to school and a lot of things would happen. They're trying to manipulate you, and especially in the poor places, you know, trying to distract you with nonsense. And I'm not stupid, you know. You can't just tell me, you can't force me to do something. And if you don't do it, it costs you your life. That's how it is in Iran.
Tell me about your journey out of there, though, because it's a fascinating thing how you got out of Iran.
It was just one night. I was in too much trouble. My mom almost gave me my bag with a couple of clothes in the bag, and she just told me leave. She said she want to see me again, so I gotta leave if she want to see me. Because if I stay, she would maybe not see me no more.
Because you were in so much trouble.
So much trouble.
I
was in my own world. I was in my own
yeah.
world, on the street, doing my thing. Even if I didn't want trouble would come to me. It's just the environment, you know. So one night I just left with a fake passport. I just left. It was a long journey. It was scary. It was so scary because you don't know what's going to happen to you.
You're 18, for goodness sake.
I'm only 18. People,
fearless, but at the same time,
yeah,
suddenly in a bigger world, you know?
It's like I was a grown-up man since I was 6 years old, you know? So it was, but at the same time, it was scary because I just don't know what's going to happen to me. I don't speak no English. The whole journey is a risk. I might die. You know how many people die on their way to come to Europe?
How did you come then?
I came with a plane and stuff like that. Some trains. I came with train, plane.
Did you know where you were going? Did you have an idea where you were going?
I honestly didn't know. Like, I was like a gypsy, you know. Just took a bag. I was like, I got 2 legs. I just go, you know. That to this day, I'm the same person, you know. I just can't be somewhere. It's me from childhood. I find it so difficult. I got so much energy, and I just always look for something new.
Well, you're like the cat with 9 lives as well, aren't you, as you said?
It is. Like, I'm not going to die, so I'm going to be around. Let me just experience a lot of things in life.
And you went off to Amsterdam recently, and what were they calling you?
Baby Jesus. That's
Baby
crazy.
Jesus.
Yes, I don't know, but like my friend, because I just cut my hair. It was long hair. So I was with my friends. He was trying to introduce me to his friends. It was like, oh, Baby Jesus. I'm like, how did you give me that name? You know? It was like, you look like Baby Jesus. I'm like, I'll take it.
Professional boxing in the boxing world has given you, since the age of 18, 6 years ago, it's given you, I don't say a new lease of life. It's probably what you've always been destined for. But it's given you a different life here where you can see to the future. You have your flat. You're building for your future now, aren't you? It's a different kind of life.
It's different. Like, honestly, when I was on my way, I said, if I stay alive, if I make it, I know I'm going to get whatever I want. I picture every second that I live today. I actually got more than what I asked, to be honest. I live a beautiful life. Already.
There's a long way to go yet.
It's a long way to go. Yeah, like, honestly, like sometimes when I look at in boxing, I'm just so behind. Like, there is always so much to do. I'm just a young man in boxing world, but overall was like, it felt like lifetime so far.
Yeah, but you've got the guidance of a friend of mine, Spencer Oliver, who has been through an amazing journey himself.
Yes.
You've been signed with Kalle Sauerland in the past with them. You're with Boxer and Sky right now. You're 8-0 as a boxer. You're coming through really well. You had a big learning curve in your last fight.
Yeah,
you went down. I think it's for the first time, isn't it?
First time ever.
You got up and, you know.
Since I've been fighting since I'm a kid, that was
but you probably, all those things flashed before your mind.
I went through 1,000 emotion.
Yeah.
While I got dropped, I went through 1,000 emotion. It was crazy. I knew like I'm gonna beat him all day, but it's boxing, right? Boxing is just equivalent of life.
Absolutely. So many lessons.
So many lessons spontaneously just happens. So are you ready? You know, I'm ready for anything.
Brilliant stuff. Coming up next, Frank Warren joins us. Well, a very good morning to Frank Warren, Hall of Fame promoter. Frank, it's a heavy time in the heavyweight division. We finally got movement a week ago. All these fights made public, or 2 weeks ago with Joe Joyce, Zhili Zhang rematch, Daniel Dubois going over to Poland to challenge Alexander Usyk for 3 of the heavyweight belts. Anthony Joshua's fighting Dillian White, Tyson Fury's fighting Francis Ngannou in Saudi Arabia. There's been a lot of noise in the heavyweight division in the last week. Are you surprised, first of all, that there's this swathe of very disgruntled, hardcore boxing fans about Tyson Fury facing Francis Ngannou?
Well, look, they're entitled to their opinions. It's a great event. It's the biggest event I've been involved with ever, and it's going on, and that's the end of it. I'm really looking forward to it. This is opening up the Riyadh Festival in October, a massive festival, multi-million pound festival with some magnificent events. And Tyson's opening it up. And the heavyweight division's busy now because the shows that were proposed for December in Saudi are not happening. That's why it's now shifting and moving. That's what we've all been waiting for.
Right Hook Rodney, I've got a load of questions came in for you for Fight Club this week. A load of questions. Right Hook Rodney says, is there an issue comparing Tyson Fury with former greats Ali, Foreman, Holyfield, all these guys, Lennox Lewis, when he's had 6 title fights and he hasn't fought the best? What's your take on that?
Well, he's not fought the best. Well, sorry, I thought Klitschko was the best, not the best at the time, the best of his generation. Wilder went to America, as he did going abroad to fight Klitschko, went to America and fought him 3 times. And Wilder was undefeated, the biggest puncher statistically, the biggest puncher of his generation and statistically ever. He's not fought the best. I mean, you know, do me a favour. Go and look at some of those records as well. Look at some of the fights. Listen, I don't know how old right hook Rob or whatever his name is.
Right Hook Rodney.
I know my age, and I watched all these guys, and I watched all of their fights. So go and look at their records. Yeah, they fight, and Tyson's not ducked anybody either. He's had his mandatory last year, which was ordered by the WBC, and did it and dealt with it in very good fashion.
Olusina Exclusive asks on that very point, why not Sanchez, who I think is number 4 in the WBC? Why not Makhmudov number 4? Why not Bakoli, Kozabutsky or Anderson?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Because he's fighting Ngannou in a massive event. That's why. And these guys, they would be voluntary defences if indeed we could make them. The one we want to make box office fights, and a box office fight would have been Ruiz, but he asked for $20 million, and we're going down the old road again of Joshua didn't want the fight. He'd much rather fight the guy that Tyson beat last year rather than fight for the WBC title, having been offered 40% of the purse monies.
Do you think by now, if Deontay Wilder hadn't won that arbitration case, that Fury would have fought Joshua maybe twice?
No, I think he'd have fought him once and he wouldn't have wanted him the second time.
Michael Roberts asked, just going away from that for a minute, what was it like dealing with Mike Tyson?
It was okay. I've dealt with him a number of times over the years. On one occasion, it wasn't good because he's a prick.
Do you get on now?
I haven't spoken with him. I haven't seen him or spoken with him since.
Wayne Lovett asks, Saudi Arabia is here to stay and now that they're involved in all sports, do you think it's shifting the paradigm in boxing, not just for the heavyweights, but for all boxing?
But you've got to look over the years how things have happened in sport. You know, Vegas, when it started, before Vegas fights, all the big fights, most of them took place in New York, and then they moved to Vegas because of casinos. Now Saudi's there. For a while, Macau was in China. Macau was going to be a destination. But I think Saudi Arabia is a real destination for all sports, because you can see the commitment they're making, not just to Tyson and the event that we're doing on the 28th, but also to other sports. I mean, they're football, all the way through, you know, football, golf, everything. They're doing it all. Formula One, they are just absolutely making a commitment to world sport.
If you're looking into your crystal ball for 2024, how do you see the route for the undisputed title or Tyson Fury in 2024 in boxing next year?
Well, it depends who holds the belts. You know, it depends who holds the belts. You know, will Usyk be Daniel Dubois? I don't know. I fancy Daniel to beat him, and if he does, then I think we will get to that stage in 2024. If it doesn't, then we've got to wait till Tyson's fight takes place on the 28th, and working with His Excellency and the good doctor, we will move heaven and earth to try and make that fight happen. But they are the people who will help to make it happen and will probably force the issue.
Can you categorically say then that it's not Tyson Fury avoiding these other guys, Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua, that it's all... Can you explain that Game of Thrones that's going on right now then?
Do you know what? I'm sick and tired of talking about it, Gareth. I've been talking about this for weeks. The haters are there. They've got their opinion. They're going to stick with their opinion, and that's it. Nobody has made an offer to Tyson Fury to fight any of these guys. Not one offer we had. Nothing in writing, not a single offer for the so-called big event that was going to take place in December, which is now apparently going to be postponed until February or March next year. Not one offer. In the meantime, we made offers, written offer to Joshua, and we made offers to Usyk. He accepted it, then changed his mind once Skill Challenge gave him this December situation. He pulled out of it. That's it. I'm not going to even discuss it anymore. Tyson's never ducked anybody, and certainly would not duck either of those guys, and certainly not AJ. That's for sure.
On to Daniel Dubois and Alexander Usyk. What have you seen in Daniel that you feel he can upset the apple cart over in Poland on August the 26th against Usyk and claim those 3 belts?
He's a big man. He can punch. He's got a fabulous jab. He can box a bit. Contrary to which I thought Johnny Nelson said the other day was disgraceful, talking about a bottle job. This is a guy that got ripped all his tendons in his leg, and he went down 3 times in that fight. His last fight. First one was a genuine knockdown, caught on the top of the head very early in the first round. After that, he tore his ligaments and fought on with that, and then stopped the guy and then had operations on it afterwards. That's where he's at. Bottle jobs. I watched Johnny Nelson fight against Carlos de Leon in Sheffield in the most boring fight I've ever seen. It was so boring, it nearly drove ITV out of boxing. That's how poor it was. And I show you how much commitment he put into that fight, because he was backing off him all the time. Didn't show any heart in that fight. He fought 3 weeks later. He managed to fight 3 weeks later. That's how much heart he put into it. And if it wasn't for me, if it wasn't for Naz, I should say, Naz brought him and asked me to do it, to promote him, which I didn't really want to do after what I see. I made his matches except for his mandatories, and he reigned for 7 years under my promotion banner. So I done a great job for him. And the job he's got at Sky is because of me, because I spoke to Vic Wakeling about it and got him a job. So he's a very, very lucky guy. And start calling people bottle jobs. He needs to go and look in the mirror or go and play back that fight. And I suggest any of your viewers or listeners also go and watch it and then see what somebody's got to say about a bottle job. Anyway, getting back to Daniel, he showed a lot of courage in that fight. So I think he's got the punch to do it. I think he's young enough. And I think the fight is more about how Usyk will deal with a young, fresh heavyweight. Because up to now, he's fought Chad Witherspoon. He fought Derek Chisora, who I would back Daniel Dubois against every day of the week. We offered Derek over the last couple of years, many times we made offers to him to fight Daniel, and he declined to do so. And he fought a Joshua who's not the same man he was prior to those two fights. He definitely wasn't the same fighter. And I'm not taking anything away from the greatest cruiserweight of his generation. No doubt about that. Been a fabulous cruiserweight. But this one, we'll see where he's got. This is the one for me that will convince me one way or another what he's about.
You may be proved right in this, and some of us who pick the other way will be proved wrong. Does Daniel have to stop Usyk, in your view, rather than outbox him?
No, if he outbox him, he'll get the decision. I think he'll stop him, but if he outbox him, he'll get the decision.
And what happens... Give me a prediction of what happens if and when Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk step into a ring together. What happens in that fight?
I'd fancy... Look, I'm with Tyson, so you know what my answer's going to be. I fancy him all day long. I think he's miles... I think he's too big for him, he's too fast for him, he's too strong for him. And I think that it's a foregone conclusion, as far as I'm concerned. But then I would say that. But that's how it would turn out.
Joe Joyce and Zhili Zhang, obviously September the 23rd, I want to say, Wembley Arena. I think that's the right date, isn't it? What does Joe have to do differently this time around against Zhili Zhang, in your view?
Move his head. You know, he got caught very early on by Zhang. You know, Zhang done well. We know early on in a fight he's dangerous, and he caught Joe, and Joe's eye closed up very quickly, and he was struggling to deal with the southpaw and his eye being closed, and the referee quite rightly stops it because of that. This time round, he's got to work on his head movement, his defence. Joe's no schmuck. That fight's there for him to win. It's for him to get his title back. It's there for him to do.
And where does he go if he can get that title back then?
Well, he's the mandatory challenger for the WBO version of the titles that I think that Daniel Dubois will wind up holding. So we'll see a great rematch.
But if Usyk holds them,
then he's the mandatory challenger to Usyk.
But will we see Fury and Usyk before we see Fury and Joyce? Usyk and Joyce.
Don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, at the end of the day, we'll see. It's not a question of not wanting it to happen. We tried to do it, and right up until the purse bids were called for Daniel's fight, we were still trying to make the fight, but they were not interested because they've got it in their head. They want to fight. They wanted to fight in December in Saudi Arabia for skills challenge for a massive purse, which is, as I mentioned earlier, was pushed back.
Do you think Tyson Fury will face Usyk and Joshua before his career is over? Will he clear out the division and maybe fight others?
We'll see. I mean, look, it's all a moving target. Let's see what happens with Usyk in his next fight. Let's see if he's there. We'll see what happens, how he looks in his next fight. And the same, and Joshua, I mean, it's a fight. That's a fight that the British fans would like to see. The rest of the boxing world are not that convinced about Joshua because they've seen him. They've seen his frailties. I mean, we're all talking about Joshua like he's still top of the tree. I mean, on his own admission, he looked pretty average in his last fight, and the two fights before that he lost. So that is AJ. That's what he is. He's fighting a guy that Tyson absolutely took to school. Was it just over a year ago? What is it, 15 months ago or whatever? Mm-hmm. Took him to school. He's fighting him rather than fighting for the WBC title for which he was offered.
On another heavyweight, David Adelaide was here in the studio 2 weeks ago, really growing in stature. Are we going to see him in a fight with Fabio Wardley for the British heavyweight title?
Yes, you will.
And is that imminent? Is it something to this year? Or I mean, I'm hearing they've got a fight in between potentially.
It'll happen before the end of the year, no doubt about that.
And talk to me about Adelaide. There seemed to be something different about him this time, that he's really kind of growing into himself. He talked about sparring 150 rounds with Tyson Fury, being realistic about he's still got a long way to go? I know you've got Moses Itauma as well, who's a very, very promising young heavyweight. Just talk to me about Adeleye for a moment.
Well, David's a tremendous prospect. You know, we've liked him from day one. He's been with us from day one. And he's got a good team around him. He's got a good management team and people around him, and trainers. He is a fighter who wants to go places. He's investing a lot in his career. He's going off to the States. He feels that's the place for him to prepare for his fights and learn his trade. And you've got to take your hat off to him for he's got that belief to go and do that. And as I say, to invest in his career, because if it comes to fruition, which I think it can do, then it'll pay off in a very, very big way for him. He's an exciting, very exciting young fighter.
Finally, Frank, one of your other big names, Anthony Yarde, obviously in an amazing fight early in the year with Artur Beterbiev, an amazing event. Where are we with Anthony Yarde, and when are you expecting him to be out next, and who against?
He'll be out in September. We've already done it. We've already made his fight, and we'll be announcing it probably in the next few days, next week sometime, the worst way.
Is that going to be on the Joyce Zhang card?
I'm not going to say that yet, but that's, we will announce it next week. Just a couple of things we've got to sort out. But his fight is done. Where we put it on has got to be sorted out.
Frank, we appreciate your time. Nice to see Muhammad Ali behind you. Are those war holes, Muhammad Ali?
Yes.
Fantastic. Great to see you. Thank you very much for your time. Always appreciated.
And you, young man. Be good.
Well, Alireza Gadiri is still here in the studio with me, otherwise known as Reza Ali, of course. What did you make of what Frank Warren was saying there, and the fact that some fans loud and disgruntled at the moment? Fans want to see Tyson Fury fight Alexander Usyk, basically, don't they?
I mean, that's the fight has to happen.
Absolutely right.
It's undisputed. It's two champions fighting. Everybody wants to see that.
And it's the heavyweight division, the blue ribbon division.
It is.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yes.
But should he have fought Frank Sanchez or Arslanbek Makhmudov, the number 4 and number 5?
Yeah, because that's how it is in UFC. You know, you fight like the one below you, the rank. In boxing, it's just, there is no rules to it, you know?
Yep.
It works so differently. When sometimes my friends ask me how boxing works, when I explain them, it's just like, that doesn't make no sense. I'm like, welcome to boxing.
Yep.
Nothing makes sense in boxing.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Most of the time it doesn't though. But myself, Tyson Fury is, a champion. I personally really like him.
Yeah, but Reza, if he leaves the sport, not having fought Alexander Usyk, I think he will fight him anyway.
Yeah.
Because we're impatient. We're an impatient society.
Yes.
I think he will be around for a couple of 3 years anyway.
For sure. Like, it's a lot of big fight for him to happen.
Anthony Joshua fight still happen in your view?
Anthony Joshua with who?
With Fury.
With Fury.
Is that a fight British fans want to see in your view?
Everybody want it.
Okay.
Everybody want it.
Here, let me put it a different way to you though. And this is why it is happening. If you were offered the opportunity as a world champion, offered more money than you've probably earned ever in your career to fight a UFC champion at super bantamweight, would you do it?
For sure. Because at the end of the day, it's a business. I got to feed my family, you know? So me just waiting to get the big fight, but when it's not happening, boxers, they don't get paid while they don't fight, you know? So I would get that fight for sure.
So it is the Wild West, as we always say. It's the Wild West.
It is what it is. You got to take it if it's there. Because at the end of the day, you got to remember, millions of people watching you. You gain a W, you entertain people, and the whole journey, everything about it is exciting.
Sometimes it's more of a business than a sport.
Yes. Professional boxing is all about business. That's what I learned when I came in this country. Like, I needed to learn the business. I need to see what's going on. Not only going to learn how to punch, because otherwise I would stay behind. I couldn't be where I am here today. Still got a lot to learn, to go, but you gotta understand the business, because boxing is one of those businesses so complicated. But if you find the gap to get in there, the world is your oyster.
Daniel Dubois, as Frank was saying, do you give him a chance against Alexander Usyk?
Yes, he got the youth power, you know. We train at the same gym, in Don Charles's gym, so I see him.
Yep.
He put a hard work in. He's a nice guy, like being outside of the ring. And I want him to win because, you know, it's a new generation. He can win if he is smart, for sure. You gotta be smart and use that power. You know, he carries so much power.
I think he's got to hurt Usyk and stop him to win the fight. I don't think he outboxes Usyk,
because
in my view.
At the end of the day, Usyk is a smaller guy, and it's a heavyweight boxing. The power in there is just like crazy.
Oh, and those other fights we were talking about with Frank, Joe Joyce, Zhili Zhang, how do you see that going second time around?
I was surprised the way Joe Joyce was fighting, you know, because I believe he's a lot better than that. He was like switched off in the ring somehow, with a southpaw, doing some mistake, walking into his punch. From someone with your experience, that shouldn't happen, you know. But if he learn his lesson, he's gonna come and get the W for sure.
Anthony Joshua and Dillian White, how do you see that going?
Anthony Joshua, Dillian White. I feel like it's getting boring. I think.
Really, you feel you're not excited about that fight?
I want to see it at the end of the, because I'm a boxing fan. I love boxing, you know. I watch boxing all day, all long. But there is other fights to happen. Why not with Wilder? Why not with?
You think Joshua and Wilder should be happening now, or even White and Wilder?
Yeah, something new, you know. So fans can be excited, because there are a lot of fighters haven't fought each other yet. So why they're not fighting? You know?
Reza Ali or Little Jesus, Hairy Jesus, I don't know. Coming up next, we're going to be joined by Wasserman promoter Kalle Sauerland.
He left me. He left the superstar though.
We'll take him up on that now.
Yeah.
Well, we're joined on Fight Club by Kalle Sauerland. What's that behind you? Is that Central Park?
That's Central Park just behind me.
Oh, so you are
early
in New
morning.
York. Good morning, good
early morning in New York. Lots of work to do, so unfortunately a very, very early start, but all good.
We know the rhythms.
How are you, gents? Razor, you doing well?
I'm doing well, Kalle. It's been some time. I miss you.
Good. Miss you too, brother. Miss you too. Miss you too.
You're always busy.
Gareth, you're well?
I'm very well, thank you. Look, let me dive straight in some questions for you now. I've got some questions from the public for you, first of all. Could we see Cal Brook and Josh Kelly this year, first of all?
Absolutely. You know, I think all those fights that have been put out there, some very interesting ones to make, but it takes two to tango, you know? So, you know, I'm over here meeting networks, and we have a show this weekend, of course, but also speaking to the federations and seeing what the world title thing's saying. But yeah, those are fan fights that have been put out there, and you know, I love a domestic blockbuster. It's a great fight.
Who was the easiest boxer to deal with when organising the Cruiserweight Super Series?
Myris Breedis and Usyk, who ironically were probably the best two in the tournament. So
yeah, they were.
Yeah, they were straight in.
On that note, Kalle, give us your take on the heavyweight division at the moment. We've just had 3 or 4 fights.
It could do with a WBSS at heavyweight, couldn't it?
It could. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's fragmented, isn't it? And, you know, I'm not going to go and point fingers at one side or the other. I'm not party to those negotiations. We're an affected party because, like many others, let's say in the rankings, we got Hrgovic at 1. He's been waiting a very long time. But then there's also other people. There's, Joe Joyce. He was waiting, and he had to roll the dice. And good, fair play to him. He took a proper fight and unfortunately lost. That happens at heavyweight. You've got, Dubois. He's sort of been slotted in sort of last minute, I'd describe it as. But he's a valid contender as well. And there's lots of them. So I get it with the champs who are on big bucks and they've earned the big bucks and they've done that. And, I guess that's what professional boxing is also about. But at the same time, look at the rankings behind it. It's a great division at the moment. And we're not seeing the other fights being made. So I was very happy to make Hrgovic-McKean last week. I think that's a great fight.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the division's being, fragmented, and that means
stretched
that all the boxers in the top 10 are not getting their just rewards out of it. So, for one reason or another, but that's what it is. And now we got Fury and Ngannou, which, by the way, I do find entertaining. I do think we'll all watch it. I do think that 90-10, it's a Fury walkover. But at the same time, he's fighting a guy who's I don't watch much UFC, but I've seen the clips of him. He's certainly a live wire.
Let me ask you: should we definitely see if Usyk beats Dubois and Fury beats Ngannou? Should we definitely see Fury and Usyk next rather than a Usyk and a Hrgovic? And you're Hrgovic's promoter.
Yeah, I mean, as a fan, of course you're going to say yes. I have to do the business for Hrgovic, and it won't get to that because Fury's fight is in October, and Usyk boxes in at the end of August, and the mandatory will be called straight afterwards. So that will be directly next. That won't affect it too much because if you look at the succession line, it will be that fight will take place sometime around December when Tyson wouldn't be ready for an Usyk fight anyways. So I guess they can do things in the background, but we believe our man will take Usyk out. So from that point of view, they should be talking to us.
I know you've got to run shortly today, but one of the big talking points at the moment, obviously Conor Benn's having his hearing at the moment, and we hear it's coming to a resolution as we record episode 6 here that goes out on Wednesday night about 8 p.m. Your guy, Chris Eubank Jr., has been on and off with Liam Smith. We hear the fight is done. Is it done? Is there an official announcement yet?
Gareth, sorry to interrupt, but it's not on and off on our end.
Right.
We haven't been off once. They've been off a few times, whether that's him or the promoter. There's different dates. There's been 4 different dates for this bout, for the rematch. That's not normal. That's not normal.
Yeah.
And that, of course, means we're highly suspicious and that, the contract's more or less there now. Imminent announcement. If this is out Wednesday night, it could well be that it's already out. So in that case, looking forward to it, and revenge is coming. If it's not, then clearly there's been a U-turn from the other side, because our terms are very simple, and that's about getting security for Chris, because ultimately at this stage of his career, 3 months is a hell of a long time, and it's basically a fight, and that's obviously something that we just need to know that everything is in best working order. Of course, this is boxing. I saw some quotes. Oh, he's 100% fit. There's a guarantee he's boxing on September the 2nd. I don't know. Maybe that's a different sport, because the boxing I know, there is no there's no guaranteed that he's going to be fit, but at least it sounds like he's fit to go into a camp, which is good news.
Do you think Ben and Eubank will step into a ring at some point in the future still?
I do. It's just about the time, isn't it? It was obviously a very interesting fight last year. I think it's a very interesting fight now. And if it does get made, hopefully it's at a time when the fight's very interesting for everyone, So I think that's what will drive it. But if sitting here right now, it's a fight that would, capture the nation, like it would have last year. But at the same time, now you've got that whole storyline which we've all lived with in one way or another over the last 10 months.
Any regrets about the way it was handled 10 months ago?
Look, Gareth, it was a someone who's promoted boxing for 23 years. It was a unique situation. It was a new situation. I can't say I've been in that situation before. I hope I'm never in that situation ever again. But yeah, of course, you look back. I don't regret. I learn and look at things, and maybe some things could have been done differently. The one thing though that is abundantly clear is that it should have been much faster and much more transparent. Yeah, those are the two things.
Completely agree.
That would have, it happens in sport. It happens in all sports, but it has to be quicker. Look, we're sitting here now 10 months later and we're talking about a hearing that's going on, I don't know how long, but has it taken them that long to sit down with each other? And what's the reason for that? That it's just craziness.
Finally, you made some very salient comments about Daniela Helmsley on DAZN the other night. And obviously you're involved as Wasserman promoters with the Misfits. It's so abundantly clear, you're absolutely right, that we have to separate what is Misfits Boxing, Kingpin Boxing, YouTuber influencer boxing from professional boxing.
Yeah, and it's if something happens on a Golden Boy show, we're going to go straight for our promotions. In normal boxing, it's Kingpin is not Misfits, first of all, and Misfits is very different to normal boxing. But at the same way, that sort of stuff would be governed by our contracts. She wouldn't get paid on a Misfits show. Right, it's as simple as that. Right, that's bringing the company into disrepute. There's a very clear clause in our agreements. Payment would not be made, so the fighter would not get paid. It's as simple as that. So, she's gone out on record of saying that the promoters knew about it beforehand, which, I'm hoping that's not true. If it's true, it's terrible. But at the same time, it's got absolutely squat diddly to do with us.
So we're going to let you go. You look like you're about to have a run around, do some weights as you do incredibly, and then have a little run around Central Park.
I'm going to go throw some steel around the gym in a minute, but one or two calls to make on some rather big fight announcements coming up. Watch this space. Tease us, please. Well, the big one in the let's say crossover space is, of course, KSI Tommy, Tommy Fury. That's getting close, almost there. Watch this space, and at the same time, we talked just a little minute ago about Eubank Smith. That is, it is about. I keep saying it. I've been saying it since last week. It's crossing the T's, dotting the I's. But it's got to be right.
We appreciate you getting up. Thank you very much for your time early in the morning in New York. Take care, mate. Great to see you.
Thanks, gents. Cheers. See you soon, Razor.
See you soon.
Cheers. Some fascinating stuff there. Obviously, you were with Kalle at one point, promotionally. No doubt you could be with him again. That's the way it happens in boxing. You're with boxer Ben Shalom and Sky at the moment, of course. What did you make of what he was saying there about Ben and Eubank? Do you think that fight will happen in the future?
For sure. That will happen.
Even if Eubank suffers a second defeat to Liam Smith? Is it still a big fight?
Yeah. It's a beef there that, it's a unfinished business that must be finished, It must happen. I want to see that fight.
What about that point? We're talking about the heavyweights a lot today. What about that point about Kalle wants to see Fury and Usyk? Not necessarily his guy Hrgovic, yes, even though Hrgovic is who he's representing.
Yes.
He's right.
Everybody knows what's going on, It's so obvious. But I don't know, sometimes why does it take so long?
Well, because the money's there. It's all about opportunity and ego and timing and money. I mean, I say it the whole time. We don't run it. It's run by the algorithm of a chess game and what fits in at certain times.
Right time, right fight, right fight, So it's just how it works in boxing. That's what I've been learning on my way so far. And it's just like, look, it's Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. It's been going on forever, but it's finally happening.
Correct.
It's fun.
Next week. It's taken years and years. I remember covering for years and years Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao and actually trying to help to force it through the media. We always felt we did, but it came down to them meeting one night in Los Angeles. That's what it came down to in the end. Yes. They met each other and they actually agreed to do it themselves because hadn't been together all that time. You know, maybe if you could get Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn in a room together with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, they're not going to be slanging each other off. They make the fight, probably.
I think so. But this, you know what I was thinking? Actually, we got to understand at the same time, it's not only about boxing. These nights of fights, when it happens, it's a big night in a sport.
Entertainment. Sports entertainment, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So I understand at the same time when it takes so long because it's millions of people and millions of dollars, you know, on the table. So it's a lot of work. I understand the promoters. It's not easy, but at the same time, it can be easy, you know? Just as I said, look in UFC, how it happens.
Yeah, but the UFC doesn't have the same
bodies
or algorithm or formula. The fighters aren't in control. It's the promoters running all of it, you know? Some of the boxers... Why did Francis Ngannou leave the UFC when he was UFC heavyweight champion? Because he probably felt that he could have greater money opportunities, greater career opportunities leaving. It didn't make sense for me at the time. He was holding the belt and he'd fought Cyril Gane and defended the belt. It didn't make sense that he did leave for me, but he must have had his own reasons for doing so.
Yes, at the end of the day, if there was a better opportunity, you go there.
Right, talking about opportunity, let's get back to you. Where are you headed next? Talk to me about the super bantamweight division. How's your ascent in the division? How is it projected for you? Have you got a fight coming up?
I got a fight coming up. My man Oliver Spencer gave me a date with. I had a meeting with Ben Shalom. So September, either the 16th, most likely the 30th.
Okay.
In London, I'll be fighting. Which is not confirmed yet. You know.
You don't know the opponent yet.
No, you know. So
and talk to me about the super bantamweight division.
Super bantamweight in the country is very hot. You know, it's one of, you don't have to underestimate super bantamweight in the UK.
Who are you targeting?
You gotta understand, like, I want to fight anybody in the right time, for sure. I spar great fighters. The future opponent, I'm sparring them.
Like?
I sparred Denise McCann.
Okay.
I sparred
who looks to be headed towards world title level.
Yeah, we all on the same path going, some be ahead, but listen, the one gonna be champion, they meet at the end in the ring, which I'm excited for future, you know.
Not in a hurry?
Not in a hurry. I'm only 8-0. You know, obviously I don't want to waste time, but you gotta understand, I have no amateur background. I'm learning on the job in pro game.
You are a work in progress, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So all of these fighters that I talk about them, the super bantam fighters, prospects, they all had amateur background. They're all like 2 digits now, 11-0, 12-0, 15-0, 10-0. I'm still 8-0. I have my first 8 rounders coming up for the next fight, which I'm very excited because my style suits longer rounds. I break them down.
You know how to box. I know that.
Yes, I just
hit and not be hit.
Yes, it's
that's what you got to do.
Science of boxing. As I said, there was so much for me to learn, but I got a lot of plans. I'm I'm working on it. Every day is exciting in my journey, in my craft.
Who do you admire in the boxing of the boxers? Who are the ones you look up to? Who are the ones who are heroic for you?
Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah.
Like I watch him all day, all long. He's a different breed. There was nothing like him.
I think he's headed towards pound for pound number one.
I think he's already, from my opinion, pound for pound number one.
He's got a little bit to prove, in my opinion. Yeah.
He already proved.
Beat Devin Haney, bit Tank Davis.
But just go in his resume, see the people that he beat already.
He's phenomenal.
He's like, and there are a lot of amazing fight must happen. I'm sure it's gonna happen. The way he's chasing everybody, it will happen.
He's a very, very clever fighter. He's already on the way to greatness, in my view.
2 times world champion.
But again, like we say about all boxing, we want to see him tested by the very best.
Yes,
which
it's going to happen. Like, I personally, all the time I tell my coach, like, get me a good fight. Like, the last fight I had, it was a good challenge for me. I fought a bigger guy. It was number 1 in Brazil. It was a puncher stopping all his opponent. So it's the same. Like, someone like Shakur Stevenson is not looking. He's not here to joke around. You know, he's here to fight. It's the same mindset I have. Like, I go to gym every day. I train so hard, and to Spencer I say the same thing. To Ben Shalom I say the same thing. I'm willing to fight everybody, anybody, anytime.
So you're ready?
I'm ready. I love fighting. Obviously, there is so much I need to learn, because, as I said, it's work in progress. But in couple of fights, like when I'm 11-0, 12-0, 10-0, like, I would love to have some excitement, a lot of excitement.
We look forward to watching your career. I've got to ask you, because we ask everybody that comes into the studio, you're marooned on a desert island, no people around. Who would you have as your ideal girl Friday?
That's a hard question, because, like, there's so many hot, beautiful girls out there.
Try and pick one.
Beyonce.
There you go.
For sure.
There you go. Reza, it's been brilliant to see you today. We look forward to your career. Your story is extraordinary. Thank you so much for joining me on episode 6 of Fight Club. You are very, very welcome indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching episode 6 of Fight Club. Send us your questions for our guests on the show. That goes out every Monday. We record on a Tuesday, and we're out on a Wednesday night at 8 p.m. on all boxing socials, media channels. You've been watching Fight Club. I'm Gareth A Davies. We'll see you next week.